I am Lena Carter, 24 years old, and the first in my family to become a finalist for the Thornfield Fellowship, a full-ride scholarship to Oxford University. My sister Claire has always resented my success, but I never thought she'd go this far. When I found my passport missing 3 days before my life-changing interview, I felt my world shatter. My parents stood in our modest home in Columbus, Ohio, arms crossed, defending her. "Some opportunities just aren't meant for everyone, Lena," my father said coldly. What they didn't know, I had already planned for this betrayal. If you've ever been told you don't belong, if you've ever been held back by the people who should have lifted you up, let me know where you're watching from. And if you believe in fighting for your dreams no matter the odds, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Growing up in our working-class neighborhood, I learned early that my achievements would never matter more than Claire's mediocrity in my parents' eyes. She's 2 years older, but it felt like a lifetime of being compared and losing. While I brought home straight A's and academic awards, Claire barely passed her classes and showed no interest in school. Yet somehow, her needs always came first. I remember in 6th grade, I spent weeks building a model of the solar system for the science fair, painting each planet, measuring orbits. The night before the event, Claire needed poster board for a last-minute assignment. Without hesitation, my mom tore apart my project for the cardboard. "Your sister really needs this," she said as I cried. "You'll get an A anyway. You always do." That became our family's motto. It continued. When I won the citywide essay contest in 10th grade, my parents missed it because Claire had a minor cold. When I got into the honors program, my dad shrugged and said, "Just don't let it go to your head." Meanwhile, Claire's retail job got a celebration dinner. We weren't rich. Dad worked in construction, Mom at a local pharmacy. Money was tight, but somehow there was always cash for Claire's clothes, car, and weekend trips. When it came to my academic trips or college prep courses, I heard, "We just can't afford extras." So I got my first job at 15, filing books at the public library. By junior year, I was working 2 part-time jobs to save for college. Claire dropped out of her expensive private university after 1 year, moved back home, and got full financial support while she figured things out. Despite everything, I loved them. That's the painful truth. You can see the unfairness and still feel tied by blood. I made excuses for years. Dad had traditional views. Mom never had opportunities, so she didn't know how to nurture them in me. Claire was used to being the favorite. It was Dr. Mitchell, my high school psychology teacher, who first opened my eyes. After class, she asked why I wasn't applying to top universities. "My family isn't big on college," I said, repeating the same excuse. "And what about what you're big on?" she countered. That question cracked something open. For weeks, I re-examined my family dynamics. I realized I'd been trained to shrink my dreams to keep peace. Dr. Mitchell became my mentor, helping me transfer to a state university with a scholarship. In response to years of disappointment, I developed skills that saved me. I became fiercely self-reliant. I learned to think ahead, documenting everything, creating backup plans for my backup plans. I kept my ambitions quiet, only revealing them when they were too real to sabotage. Most importantly, I built a support network outside my family. At its center was Mia, whom I met in a literature class. Unlike Claire, Mia celebrated my wins. When I stayed up all night on research, she brought coffee. When I doubted myself, she reminded me, "Your family may never see your light, but that doesn't mean you should dim it." By senior year, my family's approval wasn't my main source of validation. I had professors who believed in me, friends who saw my worth, and growing confidence. I navigated family gatherings with emotional distance, sharing only sanitized versions of my achievements. What I didn't realize was how this pattern would escalate when faced with my biggest opportunity, one that would make it impossible to pretend we were just a normal family. The Thornfield Fellowship wasn't just any scholarship. Only 5 American students got it each year. It covered full tuition at Oxford, plus a 3-year living stipend. Beyond money, it opened doors to global leaders, academics, and innovators. Past winners became UN ambassadors, Pulitzer winners, Nobel laureates. I didn't plan to apply. Imposter syndrome whispered that opportunities like this weren't for people like me. But Professor Hayes, my urban planning advisor, insisted. This work deserves a broader platform, he said, sliding the application across his desk. Your research on sustainable communities in post-industrial cities brings something unique. The application was grueling, a 20-page research proposal, 3 essays, 5 recommendation letters, a portfolio. I spent months refining it, working late after shifts at the campus library and coffee shop. I told no one in my family. Their indifference could crush my resolve. When the email came, "You are one of 15 finalists for in-person interviews," I stared at my phone for 5 minutes before calling Mia. "I knew it," she screamed. "Did I not tell you? Your research is groundbreaking." That validation from scholars who had no reason to believe in me except my work felt like oxygen after years of breathing thin air. Eventually, I shared the news at Sunday dinner. "That's interesting," Mom said after a pause. "Oxford is in England, right? That's very far." "Way to go, Brainiac," Claire said with a tight smile. "Guess all those books paid off." Dad focused on his meat. "These fancy scholarships usually go to people from important families. Don't get your hopes up." "I'm already a finalist," I said. "Out of hundreds." "Well, don't forget where you came from if you end up in that ivory tower," Dad said. "Some people get these opportunities and suddenly think they're too good for their families." It was the usual dynamic, acknowledgement laced with warning, congratulations poisoned by resentment. I'd expected it. Still, it stung. As the interview date neared, tension at home grew. Claire made snide comments about academic elitists. Mom questioned if I was ready for such a transition. Dad alternated between dismissing the opportunity and praising Claire's real-world experience as a retail manager. Nothing new, but the intensity had changed. For the first time, I sensed fear in their reactions. Fear that I might actually succeed. That I might build a life proving their limitations were choices, not fate. I threw myself into prep. Professor Hayes arranged mock interviews. I studied Oxford, practiced explaining complex theory simply. The fellowship meant freedom. Not just education, but escape from debt, from financial struggle, from the limits that had shaped my family's choices. 2 weeks before the interview, Professor Hayes called me in. I expected another practice session. Instead, he said, "Lena, you're brilliant and deserving. But I've seen enough to know success can trigger complications in family dynamics." I shifted uncomfortably. Had he seen through my careful compartmentalization? "All I'm saying is, take precautions with your documents. Keep your passport, birth certificate somewhere secure, preferably outside your home." His words chilled me. Not because the advice was shocking, but because it named a fear I'd been suppressing, that my family's pattern of undermining might turn active when faced with my permanent escape. That evening, I documented everything: photos of my passport, birth certificate, social security card, stored in a secure cloud. I made physical copies. Kept originals in a locked box at Mia's apartment. Researched emergency passport replacement. It felt paranoid, disloyal, but as tension thickened, it felt like self-protection. 3 days before my flight, I went to retrieve my passport from my locked drawer. The key turned too easily. The drawer slid open, neat folders, reference letters, interview notes, and an empty space where my passport should have been. My first reaction wasn't anger. It was hollow recognition. Part of me had been waiting for this. Still, expectation didn't soften the blow. I searched my room, then the house. Nothing. The front door opened. Claire's footsteps. I took a breath. "Have you seen my passport?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. She paused, turned. "Your passport? Why would I have it? It's missing from my locked drawer. You're the only one who's been home." Wow. Straight to accusations. "Maybe you misplaced it." "I checked it 2 days ago." "Well, I don't have it." She brushed past me. Then, with fake concern, "Wait, isn't your interview coming up? Don't you need that?" The feigned worry took my breath away. Mom and Dad arrived. "Someone took my passport," I said. "I need it in 72 hours. Mom set down her bag. "Are you sure you put it there? You've been so scattered lately." I'm positive. Dad's face hardened. That's a serious accusation. Are you saying someone in this family stole from you? I'm saying it's missing. I need it. What followed was gaslighting at its worst. Mom suggested stress affected my memory. Dad questioned if I ever had it. Claire offered fake suggestions about where I might have absent-mindedly placed it. Then I remembered, earlier, she'd posted a selfie from her room. In the background, a blue booklet, like a passport, on her nightstand. I pulled out my phone. The post was gone, deleted. You posted a selfie today, I said. There was a blue booklet on your nightstand. Her face flushed. What are you talking about? I didn't post anything. You deleted it. But I saw it. Dad stepped between us. Enough, Lena. Your sister said she doesn't have it. Then she won't mind if I check her room. Absolutely not. Claire snapped. I'm not having her go through my private things. The argument exploded. Old grievances surfaced. Voices rose. I watched from outside my body. This was the moment when the mask would fall. Then Dad detonated the truth bomb. Red-faced, he shouted, "Maybe this is for the best. Some opportunities aren't meant for everyone, Lena. Did you ever think this scholarship might not be in your future for a reason?" The room went silent. This wasn't about a misplaced passport. It was about keeping me in my place. What your father means, Mom said softly, is we need to be realistic. Oxford is for different kinds of people. What kinds? I whispered. Important people. Connected people. Not people from families like ours. Dad said, calm and devastating. You're setting yourself up for disappointment. Reaching for things that aren't meant for you. Claire seized her moment. Tears welled. I did take it, she confessed, voice breaking. But only because I was worried. I was scared you'd get there and be alone when things didn't work out. Just like that, she turned sabotage into concern, jealousy into love. Mom and Dad encircled her. You should have talked to us, Mom murmured. Your heart was in the right place, Dad said. I stood frozen, my sisters sobbing in their arms, their backs turned to me and my shattered dream. Where is it? I asked. I threw it away, in the trash can at the park, Claire sniffled. I'm sorry, Lena. I was just trying to protect you. I walked to my room, closed the door, and for the first time since childhood, broke down completely. I muffled sobs with a pillow, grieving not just the lost opportunity, but the final confirmation. My family didn't want me to succeed if it meant leaving them. When tears ended, I called Mia. They did it, I said. They actually did it. Did what? Claire took my passport and threw it away. My parents basically admitted they're glad she did. Mia gasped. Oh my God. What are you going to do? A strange calm settled over me. I'd been preparing for this longer than I knew. I'm going to activate the backup plan, I said. And I'm going to get on that plane. This wasn't the first time Claire sabotaged me. In middle school, she spilled juice on my book report. In high school, she deleted my college essay, claiming it was an old file. Each time, it was dismissed as a mistake. But the pattern was clear. Professor Hayes's warning wasn't random. He'd seen Claire mock my achievements at a department event. His advice was diplomatic, but the concern was real. What my family didn't know, 6 months earlier, I'd applied for a duplicate passport. My original was expiring. Instead of renewing, I reported it as damaged and requested a replacement, while keeping the old one. The new one had been stored at Mia's apartment since arrival, with copies of all essential documents. The day after the confrontation, while my family thought I was picking up shifts, I met Mia at a coffee shop. Are you sure about this? She asked, sliding an envelope across the table. Inside, my duplicate passport. I've never been more sure, I said, securing it in my inner jacket pocket. They showed me exactly who they are. I'd be a fool to ignore that. Mia had done more than hold documents. We'd planned for scenarios, emergency replacement, alternative travel, budget options. I called in sick for the next 3 days, Mia said. I can drive you to the airport tomorrow. My cousin works for the airline. Your tickets, still active. Beyond Mia, I had a network of supporters who knew nothing of my family drama but believed in me. Professor Hayes arranged for a department alum to meet me at the airport. Dr. Mitchell connected me with a friend for free accommodation, saving me hotel costs. What felt like paranoia was now self-protection. I'd built a safety net independent of my family, by people who valued me for my mind, not my compliance. The challenges remained. I had savings, but it was tight. I'd planned to stay with a cousin's friend to save money. That was now impossible. I'd need my emergency credit card for the hotel. Mia insisted on lending me $300. Consider it an investment in our friendship, she said. You can pay me back when you're a famous Oxford scholar changing the world. That afternoon, I visited Dr. Chun, my therapist. What you're experiencing is common in families resistant to change, she said. Your success threatens their narrative about their choices. It's not about you. It's about what your achievement reveals about their limitations. How do I focus on the interview? Compartmentalization, she said. Create a mental container for the family situation. Acknowledge it. Then set it aside. That evening, I wrote a letter I'd never send, pouring out years of favoritism, undermining betrayal. It was cathartic. The next morning, before dawn, Mia picked me up 2 blocks from my house. I'd slipped out silently with a small suitcase. As we drove away from the neighborhood that had nurtured and constrained me, I felt grief, determination, and freedom. My phone buzzed. Mom, where are you? We need to talk. I switched to airplane mode. The time for drama was over. Now was the time for my opportunity. The flight to Boston was just the start. Budget cuts meant a connecting flight with a 4-hour layover in Chicago, then a shuttle bus. I survived on vending machine snacks. The last shuttle was delayed. When I finally arrived at Cambridge University, the sun was setting behind Gothic spires, a world apart from my community college roots. Other candidates wore confidence like a second skin, discussing Ivy League summers and European vacations. I felt imposter syndrome return. First time at Cambridge? A voice beside me. It was Professor Whitman, one of the interviewers. Is it that obvious? Only because you're looking up at the architecture, she smiled. I'm Professor Whitman. My heart raced. Lena Carter. It's beautiful. It is. Even after 20 years, I still look up in wonder. She checked her watch. You should get settled. Big day tomorrow. That brief exchange settled something in me. Beneath the facade, real people. I checked into my modest hotel, reviewed my talking points. My phone, when I turned it on, was flooded. Parents cycling through concern, anger, guilt. Claire spinning a narrative of remorse. Supportive messages from Mia, Professor Hayes, Dr. Mitchell. I responded only to them. To my family, I am safe and pursuing my opportunity. Will contact you after the interview. Then silence. Ordered a cheap sandwich. Prepared. Sleep came in fragments. Dawn came. I stood under the shower, letting hot water wash away fatigue. The interview was at 10 a.m. I arrived 30 minutes early, in my navy blue suit, Mia's pearl necklace. 5 other candidates waited. When my name was called, I smoothed my skirt and walked in. 5 people sat behind a table. Professor Whitman gave a subtle nod. Miss Carter, began the man at the center. We've read your proposal on sustainable development with great interest. What sparked your research? I spoke about growing up in a transitioning community, watching neighborhoods struggle. For 20 minutes, questions were academic, methodology, literature review. I felt solid. Then came the curveball. Tell us about a significant obstacle you've overcome and how it shaped your perspective. I could give a safe answer, financial challenges, time management. Or I could tell the truth. I chose truth. My greatest obstacle, I began, was overcoming the narrative limitations placed on me by my background. I come from a family where advanced education is viewed with suspicion. Pursuing knowledge is seen as impractical, even pretentious. I described working multiple jobs, navigating systems alone. But also the psychological toll, believing in possibilities no one affirmed. The most difficult limits to transcend, I said, are the ones we internalize. My research on community transformation is inseparable from my personal transformation of recognizing that environments shape possibilities, but don't have to determine them. I spoke without bitterness. When I finished, silence. Then Professor Whitman. And how would you apply that understanding to the communities in your research? I bridged personal to academic, showing how lived experience informed my work. When the interview ended, I sensed I'd made an impression. Outside, I sat on a bench, tears of release. Mia texted, "Whatever happens, you've already won by showing up. Also, your sister says you had a mental health episode. The family is very concerned." I laughed. Of course. They'd reframe my determination as instability. For the first time, their narrative held no power. I'd written my own story, one of persistence, not victimhood. 2 weeks later, I was restocking textbooks at the campus bookstore when my phone rang. Unknown number. British accent. "Is this Lena Carter?" "This is Professor Whitman. I'm delighted to inform you. You've been selected as one of this year's 5 recipients." The textbook fell from my hands. I sank to the floor between shelves, hands over my mouth. I called Mia, she screamed, "Professor Hayes." "Well-deserved, Lena. Extraordinarily well-deserved." Dr. Mitchell sent flowers. I always knew. That evening, a news crew arrived. The university had issued a press release. The segment aired, "Local student wins prestigious Oxford Fellowship." I arrived home to find my family in the living room. TV on. Shock. Confusion. Fear. "You won," Dad said flatly. "Yes." "How did you?" Claire began. "How did I get to the interview without my passport?" I finished. "I had a duplicate. I've had it for months." Mom's hand flew to her mouth. "You planned for this." "I hoped I was wrong," I said. "I hoped I wouldn't need it." Silence. Dad cleared his throat. "Well, this is unexpected. Congratulations, I suppose." "This calls for a celebration," Mom said, forced brightness. "I could make your favorite dinner tomorrow." They wanted to skip to reconciliation, no accountability. "Thank you, but I have plans," I said. "I should get some sleep. It's been a long day." In my room, I absorbed it. I'd done it. Despite every obstacle, despite my family sabotage, I'd secured a future that would change my life. Phone buzzed. Congratulations from teachers, extended family. My high school counselor wrote, "I clearly misjudged you. Congratulations on proving me wrong." My cousin Sarah, "I always knew you were the exception. Don't let them dim your light anymore. So proud of you." That night, I slept peacefully. I'd claimed my narrative. I'd refused their limitations. That victory was bigger than the fellowship. 1 year later, I stand on Oxford's cobblestones, autumn leaves swirling. The spires I once dreamed of are now my reality. The transition wasn't easy. Distance brought clarity. After the announcement, my family cycled through guilt trips, minimization, reframing. "We always believed in you. We were just worried." I chose a middle path, limited contact, civil but not intimate. I called every 2 weeks, focused on updates, not emotions. When they asked about studies, I shared only surface details. "You're different now," Mom said on a call. "I'm the same person," I replied. "But yes, our relationship is different." It had to be. My approach wasn't punishment. It was self-preservation. The relationship now operated on my terms. Claire took 6 months to email. "I don't know how to start. What I did was unforgivable. I'm seeing a therapist. I'm proud of you, even though I have no right to be." It wasn't perfect, but it was the first real acknowledgement. I replied, "Thank you. I'm glad you're talking to someone." "I am, too." Our talks became cautious, then authentic. She asked about Oxford, genuinely. She started community college courses in education. My parents' journey was slower. No grand apologies, but small shifts. Dad asking real questions about my research. Mom sending care packages without guilt. Mentioning my achievements without qualifiers. During my first holiday visit, awards were displayed. mine beside Claire's certificates. Conversations included space for my experiences. Not movie script reckonings, but real adjustments. My healing continued with weekly therapy. Dr. Rivera, the most damaging part of family dysfunction isn't the dramatic moments. It's the thousands of small interactions that teach you to doubt your worth. I learned to counter those beliefs, that my success came at someone's expense, that wanting recognition was selfish, that exceeding expectations was disloyal. Oxford surrounded me with people who celebrated achievement, not resented it. My research flourished. I published papers, presented at conferences, joined a prestigious research group. I created a mentorship program for first-gen students, now a nonprofit. When I returned for Christmas in my second year, I brought a different energy, not seeking approval, offering connection, not requiring validation. The power shift was palpable. You carry yourself differently, Dad said. More confident, I suggested. He nodded, something like respect. I didn't understand what you were reaching for. I do now. Later, Mom paused over a middle school essay with a teacher's praise. You were always so smart. I think I was intimidated. I didn't know how to nurture something I didn't understand. It's not too late to learn, I said. I'm still here. These moments didn't erase the past, but they created possibilities. The greatest lesson? Family relationships must be negotiated, not inherited. Love without boundaries isn't love. It's submission. True connection requires freedom to define yourself. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. I can acknowledge harm while appreciating the complex humans behind it. I can maintain boundaries while leaving room for growth. Some relationships must be transformed, not abandoned. Today, as I walk through Oxford's quadrangles, I carry both my wounds and my wisdom. The passport incident gave me the push to claim my path unapologetically. It taught me, your dreams don't need anyone's permission. They just need your unwavering commitment. If this story moved you, if you've ever had to believe in yourself when no one else did, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Let me know in the comments. Have you ever fought for your dream against your family? Where are you watching from? Thank you for listening. And remember, no one gets to decide your future but you.